So one is, I think all of us know that the mismanaged plastic waste, which is littered, which then gets transported through wind or through, rains, washing off into the drains, and then going to the river, and from the river it is reaching the ocean. So the route is known, but how it is getting leaked, from where? Is it from the production stage? Is it from while it is being transported, the product, while it is being consumed, or after the consumption, the waste packaging material or the plastic product not being collected appropriately through the proper waste collection system, it is leaking. So there are different ways that we can assess these loss of plastic from different stage. And before I start this, I request Vaishnavi that we let us have some understanding. So I would like to have those Mentimeter questions. If I'll stop my screen here, and I request Vaishnavi to um, let me have those Mentimeter exercises before I begin with my plastic leakage session. Yeah,
Right.
Vaishnavi.
So, so now to do this short exercise, I would request everyone to use your phone. You can log into this link that I'll be sharing on the chat box. So you can directly click onto this link. You could even use your laptop or your phone. Click onto this link, and I will also share my screen so you all can see this. Ma'am, could you confirm if you can see?
Yeah, I can see. I can see your screen.
Yeah. So you all can use the link that was posted on the chat box, or you could also log into www.menti.com and enter the code 67514053. We have at least 3 participants in. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes and then.
Yeah, sure. So this is just a simple exercise that we are going to undertake, and it will help us in the further course of time in understanding the rest of the session.
So if anyone is facing any trouble logging in, please let us know and we can help you. Back and forth. I'll probably go to the first question.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the most simple. I think everyone can answer this. So plastics are made up of polymers, monomers, both, neither. I think we can go to next. I think the answer is correct. So I think we all have this understanding. It's polymers. Can we go to the next question? Yeah, so this is again very simple. Which are the correct steps in scientific disposal of waste? Segregation, collection, dry waste, collection in MRF, wet waste going to composting, landfill. So there are different options that is presented here. Which one is the right answer? So the order is important here. Should I help? So it, the waste is that all our rules, everything is based on, the to have a source segregation. So once the waste is segregated, are we having answers? I think no one is taking lane. So first step is segregating.
We are not able to see the answers. We are not
Okay,
able to
okay.
the answer. Actually, we are not able to opt anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh,
So you have trouble selecting the answer, is it? So, okay, we have a couple more answers. We'll just try. It must be some internet issue or something like that. But we're
yeah,
getting
but
answers.
I think most of them are, whoever is answered, they're answering it correctly. So I think we can go to the next question. So domestic solid waste generated from households should be segregated in how many streams? Only wet and dry, wet, dry, and domestic hazardous waste, wet, dry, domestic hazardous waste, horticulture, wet, dry, domestic hazardous, horticulture, and C&D waste. So household waste should be segregated into how many categories? Yeah, I think it is correctly answered. It is wet hazardous waste, the household waste which we are talking about. Yeah, can we go to the next? Vaishnavi, can you share that link again? Someone is asking, can you please send the link
Yeah,
again?
I'll do that. It's posted, so you can just click that link and access the exercise.
Okay. Treatment and disposal of wet waste. The answers are not, only one answer is being seen. Is it
Yeah, I
basically?
think everyone's voted for composting or
Okay.
biomethanation.
Okay. I think this is okay.
Which is
So,
the correct
because I can't see the four answers. So, can we go to the next? What is a suitable technological option for disposal of non recyclable dry waste? Is it composting, biomethanation, waste to energy plants, or sanitary? No, we are talking about dry waste, non recyclable but dry. So, composting cannot be done for dry waste. They are not biodegradable. We should not send anything to sanitary landfill. Yeah. So, can we have the next question, Vaishnavi? Now, who is responsible in our country for setting up waste processing facility in a city? Is it the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change? Is it Central Pollution Control Board, or local authorities, or state pollution control? Yeah. Now, who is responsible for issuing authorization to waste processing facility? Responsibility is with local authorities, but who issues the authorization to this facility? No, it is the State Pollution Control Board who gives the permission, authorization to the waste processing facility. It's not the local. Local authorities are responsible for it. City government is responsible for it. Central Pollution Authorization, it is the State Pollution Control Board. Yeah, can we go to the next? Which of the following outcomes are associated with the mismanaging of plastic waste? 1. Choking of drains, water channels, bodies, ingestion of waste by the cattle at the littering point, burning of waste at local level, or all of them. Yeah, I think it's all of them, and it's been correctly answered because all these are impact of mismanagement of plastic waste. Right. Thank you. Storage of plastic waste shall be done in which of the following? Wet waste bin, dry waste bin, domestic hazardous waste bin, none. Right, it's dry waste bin. So I think the Mentimeter questions are over. We can, is it? We still have some questions?
We have,
Okay.
I think, a
Okay.
more.
So this is open burning of waste. What is the impact of open burning of waste? It can release toxic gases and pollutants, be harmful for inhalation, contaminate air quality, or all of them. Yeah, I think it's answered correctly. Let's move to the next. Which is the highest consuming sectors for plastic in India? Construction, textile, transport, packaging. Yeah, I think it is again answered correctly. It is the packaging waste, which is a packaging sector, which consumes the maximum quantity of plastic compared to others. And what we see in the mismanaged plastic also, it is the maximum of the mismanaged packaging waste which comes, and which is a major concern for us. Is a major issue. Yeah, next. Compostable plastics are made up of actually compostable plastics are made up of a starch material. So biomass would be the right answer. Which of the following are essential in recycling and reusing of plastic waste? Which is most important so that all the plastic that is generated, plastic waste, gets recycled or reused? Segregation at source, appropriate collection, adequate infrastructure required for collection and transportation, or all of the above? Yeah, it is actually all of the above. So it has to be segregated at the source. At the same time, the collection also has to be done, and there should be adequate infrastructure for transportation, disposal, or recycling. Yeah. Yeah, now this is, I think, something all of us have to think. Which of these plastics is widely recycled? So, is it the PET? PET is mostly the bottles, mineral bottles, water bottles, comprises of PET, or even the transparent disposable glass is also PET, but mostly the bottles. HDP, HDP, we have these packaging material, we have pipes, PVC. Again, PVC is used in the packaging material. It is used mostly pipes. Your drain pipes, PVC pipes are used. LDP, LDP is your carry bags. Then it is also a part of your MLP. But MLP here we put it as a others. Then polypropylene, polystyrene, thermocol, thermocol disposable cutleries. So polystyrene is, so we are trying to say which is widely recyclable. Widely recyclable is PET, and it is also found that most of these, mismanaged litter points, hotspots points, we hardly find PET bottles, because that has a value, because it has a demand. It is recyclable highly, better than the other. So PET is the one widely recyclable plastic. LDP is also recyclable. LDP, HDP. Polystyrene is not recyclable, has a problem. HDP also is recyclable, but widely recyclable plastic is PET. So can we have next? So I think there is a mixed opinion here, mixed views. Can we shift to the next question? Yeah, so thank you all. Thank you for participating in this small interactive exercise. Now I would like to proceed further. So, first of all, I would like to say this methodology that we have evolved, it is not our methodology. This has come from various international methodologies that were being developed for, beach cleanup studies, for example, OSPER 2020, GSAM, UNEP has also developed. So from there, we adapted this procedure to suit the riverine side, because beach has a different kind of waste characteristics, and there are different conditions. So we had to adapt this, and this flow sheet which you are seeing, it has different components. So we tried to divide the whole methodology into different components. So first is we want to identify or answer the question where the plastic is leaking or why is it leaking, and then we want to understand what is leaking. So it has perception survey requirement, secondary data collection, and using these two we can do some kind of material flow analysis for plastics in the region or a city, whatever is our boundary of the study area. And based on that, we can give a tentative or indicative range of what might be the loss of plastics. Then we have this cleanup activities. We have various other components which I'll be, describing with you in subsequent slides. So the first step is leakage source identification and quantification. So we want to understand where the leakage is happening, and then we want to give a indicative range of leakage. So the technique that has been widely used is the perceptive survey. So we should be able to understand the awareness level among the different stakeholders, and from their feedback we should also be able to understand the different sources of waste generation, different types of hotspots. Now hotspot has a different meaning, it is used internationally with different kind of meaning. One says the hotspot is the cause or the region or the product which is having an impact or which is leading to the plastic leakage into the environment. So here in our study, what we have defined the hotspot is the place which has an impact of say more than 25% more across the plastic value chain. That means plastic value chain means the if you see the life cycle of the plastic product. So since its origin from the petrochemical product or petrochemical industry, the plastic resin is formed. So and then the resin goes to the plastic product manufacturing. So there again you have a different kinds of plastic products. You have packaging, you have other plastic components produced, and these again go for some other industry where it is being used to either the packaging in the industry is product is used for packaging the products of different products, other products, and then it goes to the customer who has while it is being used, the waste is generated, and then the waste either it is picked up by the urban local bodies or it gets littered and from there it leaks. So this whole chain, this is not a circular chain, this is a linear, you can say is a sequence where it is ending up in the environment. And our aim or our objective is that we should put back this plastic waste back into the system so that there is a circular economy formed. And while it is not impacting the environment because of its leakage, also we are conserving the raw material that is being used at the petrochemical industry. So these kind of understanding has to be, we should have. So we have to study the hotspots that is generated at different stage. So from the production stage, what is the spillage that can happen and how it can create the hotspot, and then to the point where the plastic waste, mismanaged plastic waste is leaking, or due to some typical application of plastic product there is a leakage that is happening, or when it is leaked into the water body, it gets stuck at some kind of barrier point where it gets accumulated and cause impact in the environment. So this whole cycle of plastic value chain needs to be studied through hotspot mapping. And from the perceptive survey, we basically wants to have an understanding of that region, what are the different range of waste generation probably. So we have for example taken some perceptive survey in Patna, and we got feedback from different stakeholders who are either using or generating the waste, and we got very interesting finding also from there. So this is one of the technique or tool you can say to start with. And the various stakeholders that we can survey or get the feedback is producer recyclers who produce the product or who does the recycling, households, religious institution, waste management authorities, policy and regulatory bodies, businesses, communities, etc. There can be many more. This is some of the stakeholders that we are listing here. Now, the second step, once we have completed the perception survey, is that we should be able to understand the plastic waste generation. So we need to collect certain information based on the production, plastic consumption, the plastic waste generation, management, waste disposal, And these are generally available with different departments. It's not available at one place. So we need to collect the secondary data, the published data. And also, we have listed some more information which I will tell you the relevance why we need to collect these. Like, for example, we need to understand the drainage network of that region, what is the wastewater discharge, land use, land cover maps, demography, rainfall. So this we will be using it for another aspect where we use GIS technique to demarcate the areas where this plastic leakage can be high. So this is another technique that I'll be speaking later. So these secondary data collection is forms a very important part of this whole methodology. And I have given some template for collection. This is a tentative template. We can always evolve this template for our analysis. Then the third technique is the reconnaissance survey. So we have to go around the city region and collect as much as data information with respect to the waste littered or the leakage. So we can have some very good camera, and we can capture these photos, and this actually has helped us immensely in our study. So we should be able to, we can here, I would say we should be able to use citizen science method. Citizen science means we engage number of people, we engage many volunteers with little capacity building. We can use them. The students can be engaged, the even the waste picker, rat pickers, anyone can be used, because today almost everyone has a smartphone. And there is a, you can see on the right hand side a small app that was developed as a part of this countermeasure project by GIC, where it's not an app, basically it's a link. And in any kind of phone you have to just click on this link, and it this form opens, where while the surveyor goes around the city, they can fill, along with the photo, we also fill certain information about that hotspot or that litter point, and then capture the photo along with its geographical locations, latitude and longitude. So this is another technique that has helped us immensely in our study, because we captured these photographs and then we did annotation. So each photograph, they were all very good resolution photographs, where zoomed, and we could characterize that litter point with respect to the plastic debris and also the polymers, because plastic debris we had characterized in our lab under FTIR, and we knew the composition of most of the plastic debris that was there in the litter points. So using these characteristics, and also we could count most of the plastic debris, and through this we could also establish the litter density at different points, even in the canal, even in the drains. So much of information can be gathered about the city by a very simple exercise of reconnaissance survey, which is very cost effective. It will not require much of investment also. Then once we have done this reconnaissance survey, we have collected the information, secondary data, we can actually do material flow analysis. Depending on the extent of information that we have gathered, we can do a mass balance for a particular region, how much of plastic is being imported into the region, how much is being produced, what is the export from there, and out of that, how much is the single-use plastic, which generally will form the mismanaged plastic waste, and how much of that plastic waste is getting collected and how much is leaking into the environment. So this kind of analysis also helps in getting us an indicative range, because this plastic waste generation leakage, it's not a static data. It's a dynamic. It changes from day to day, month to month, season to season, depends on so many factors. Mismanaged plastic waste, so it is a variable. So this kind of analysis can help us in giving us the range. And the various techniques and templates that can be used: economic data template, waste management data template, input output tables, ranking techniques. So these are different tools and techniques that can help us. Now, finally, I'm talking about this GIS technique or the fuzzy logic model, which can be used to identify the areas, zones where this plastic leakage can be higher. So this again has a very simple logic. The logic is we have to basically identify those areas where the plastic waste generation is high, where this mismanaged plastic waste generation is high or plastic waste generation is high, and the contour of that region where you have a high drainage density, so that this mismanaged plastic can be transported through these drains into the riverine system. So by overlaying this, we can actually, in a region, we can identify these hotspots or the areas where this plastic leakage potential will be high, and which should be our first intervention to keep these areas clean so that the leakage is minimum into the riverine system. And after we do this modeling, it is very important, because modeling is a theoretical thing, so we need to validate that with ground truthing. So we have to go to those areas, places, and check and see whether the output of the model is correct. And then we need to have a very good stakeholder consultation, not one, a series of stakeholder consultation workshops, which should be organized at local level, so that we are able to understand the plastic leakage areas in the city. And this should be, we should come to a consensus among all the stakeholders regarding these sources and the related quantities that comes out from the mass balance. Now, the first component we have already answered, so why and where. Now comes the plastic leakage characterization. So now whatever is leaking, we need to also understand what is that is leaking, so that we are able to develop the designs, or this we are able to come up with the right solution to, after it is being collected, it can be either recycled, it can be sent to the pyrolysis plant, or it goes to the cement plant, depending on the polymer characteristics. So for this, again, the GIS output has given us some areas where the leakage potential is high. So we can do the ground truthing of that, we do the survey, and then take some representative sites where we should be able to do this macroplastic assessment. And also, based on this leakage, suppose the city is along the river, we can also further do the microplastic sampling in the river, collecting the water at different points where the impact of this mismanaged plastic is high, so that we are able to correlate the anthropogenic activity which is leading to this plastic pollution. So macroplastic assessment, we are doing it to understand the polymers, plastic products. So we try to have different categories. So there is a trash sheet that we have evolved from the international trash sheet, which was used for cleanup studies. And based on the categories that we find in India, we have modified it, revised it, updated it. And of course, a lot of studies we have done. We have seen almost all the research that has been undertaken in India, abroad, to come up with this procedure. And then we have this, first is the identification of the location where this cleanup activity has to happen. So because the cleanup activity is a detailed study, so where we need a large number of volunteers to join us, where this activity has dual role. One is that we are characterizing the macroplastic that is going to leak into the environment. Second thing is we are also creating the awareness among the people who have joined this exercise. So it is both way. So it sends the message also, as well as we are able to have this analysis results. So to do this, therefore, we should have a site which is quite accessible and where a large group of people can work. And then we, as you can see in the photo, there are so many volunteers who are involved. We have developed some posters also so as to give them some kind of training before the exercise starts. So we tell them about the impacts of plastic, how to do this exercise, do's and don'ts. So after informing all this, we select a site with a grid. So the grid is measured and the boundary is demarcated very clearly so that we are able to estimate the litter density there. And then the using the jute bags, as you can see in the photo, the all the waste is collected by the volunteers who are involved in this exercise. We're using all the protective gears, and then the waste is segregated into wet and dry waste, not just dry waste, plastic and non-plastic waste. So the total waste is measured, weighed, and then we measure the plastic waste, how much is there in the whole waste collected. And the plastic waste which is collected, then we have separate boxes, carton boxes, so that we can separate them into different categories. And this categories we have decided, as I said, trash sheet has been developed. So we have different categories, and based on those categories, we are able to classify them so that we are able to understand the sources of this plastic, which is why it is being generated also here, because each waste is coming from some source and due to some reason. And to understand or to develop the intervention, we have to understand the reason for that, the cause for that. So this whole exercise involves that. And also this macroplastic survey can be done in a water body, say in the accumulation point, so that we are able to characterize the waste that is leaking into the water body. So this is a glimpse of the macroplastic cleanup exercise that is happening. And these are the different cartons which I was saying. The plastic waste is segregated into different categories. So packaging waste is collected separately, and then again packaging waste is segregated into monopolymer plastic waste, which can be easily recycled. So which comprises of LDP, HDP, something like that. And then the most difficult packaging material is the multi-layer packaging. So the multi-layer packaging, we segregate further, and we also identify the brands of this multi-layer packaging. Because if we have to have this EPR implementation, we also have to understand which are the brands which is coming into this leakage point. So these brands are identified. And then the most difficult thing that we have noticed is we find a lot of these small multi-layer sachets which are used for tobacco packaging. Huge, significant quantity we found in our study. Then the next comes because we did the study along River Ganges. So lot of religious activities are being performed on the bank of the river, which is in our traditional way it is being done. So after the rituals are completed or performed, the waste that is generated, the mostly the packaging waste or even the idols, their material, synthetic material, which is considered very holy, it is not being put in the dustbin, they are being immersed in the river. So these waste also we have found on the bank in the river. So these kind of findings we get while we undertake these kind of the cleanup exercises. Lot of disposable cutleries are also being found, and it varies from city to city. It's quite city specific. Some of the waste is mostly common, but some are very typical about that city also, depending on the behavior of the citizens or the type of festivals that is being happening, or whether it's a tourist place or not a tourist place, industrial area. So depending on that also the type of waste differs. So this is one part of the exercise of this cleanup study, which helps in understanding us the characteristics of the plastic debris. At the same time, we are able to understand the source. The next is because we need to give an evidence to people that yes, this plastic is leaking into the riverine system and is causing pollution and is also impacting the aquatic system. So to do that, we need to do this microplastic survey where we can collect the sample of water at different methods. There are a number of methods. I'll not go into the detail, but we can collect the water sample from the surface. We can collect the water sample from the water column, even the sediment, and the whatever the plastic particles present in it can be characterized into polymer types. And the origin of these polymer types is, of course, mostly the mismanaged plastic waste. So we can correlate which waste is causing microplastic pollution high or which is causing less, so that the priority of our interventions or the solution that we have to develop can be screened properly. So here again we have identification of locations, then assessment, preparation, treatment of microplastics. All these steps goes. And this is a glimpse of the microplastic sampling that we have undertaken. We did also from the middle of the river, and of course this has some cost, but then we have to see and gauge whether it should be done or it's not done. But this gives a very good picture or the scientific evidence of the plastic pollution that is happening in the city. Now let me take you through this small case study which we have done. So city, as you can see, it's a city which was enclosed by a riverine system, and the city had a slum population of around 4,70,467 with households 91,025. The slum population I have indicated here because from our study we found, because the waste collection is difficult from the slums because they are densely populated, and therefore the maximum waste that comes, or what we have observed, the litter density is along these population dwellers residences, where it is these are being thrown down, and mostly it contains the low value plastic. All the high value plastics are picked up. So all the low value means which are not recyclable, because it's not recyclable, so they fetch no money, so they are being dumped. So this slum population was quite high. And then we also found out what is the plastic composition in the solid waste that is generated. The cleanup activities were undertaken, as I said, through GIS modeling. We identified the sites, and then we had visited those sites, the various sites, and then found the most suitable representative site where the macroplastic cleanup activities were done. Not one, more than one sites were considered representing that region. And some of these points were also in the floodplain, so where it is very easy to leak into the riverine system. And the procedure which I explained was also adapted here. The perceptive survey was done, and we found that the industrial waste is also significantly generated. So the region was the industrial non-hazardous waste was not picked up by the urban local body, and that's why it was lying in the industrial area. In some places even it was burned. Then single-use plastic was also found in the drain. Lot of single-use disposal cutleries were there. Even the multi-layer packaging was also found. So these are some findings. Then we went about to do the secondary data collection. Sorry. So demography is one important aspect that first we collected the data on demography. Then the solid waste generation and management system. So what is the existing management practice? What is the infrastructure that is presently there, because most of the cities already have this, some of the infrastructure in place, but still this mismanagement is happening. So we have to understand, with the available infrastructure, how best we can bring the waste back into the circular economy. So these solid waste management system, the structure, the data is very important while we take up this exercise. Then to do this GIS modeling using the fuzzy logic model, we have to get the various layers, like drainage layer is needed, land use map is required, and the demography was, we need the ward wise, suppose we are doing for a city, ward wise map where we can place this population so that we understand the plastic waste generation. And the land use gives us which are the areas where the plastic waste generation can be high, like the market areas, the slum population, the tourist places, all these. And then also the digital elevation map we used, which gave us the drainage network in the region. So we could also do this density mapping of drainage density mapping. The plastic waste generation density maps were developed, and they were overlaid, and they gave us an indication where the density is high and the waste generation is high, and are the probable areas where this leakage can be also high. So this exercise was done, and the various information to do the material balance so also was done with the help of various departments, institution, who gave us the secondary data on plastic consumption and also the waste generation. And then we had a very intensive reconnaissance survey made, where as I said earlier, we captured the photos. And this was not for a season, we did for 2 seasons. In fact, it was from one whole year. So almost 4-5 months of the photographs were collected, and from there we could do a lot of analysis using those photos itself, to understand the sources, to understand the brands of the plastic, to understand the plastic debris, polymers, and the locations where it is high, where it is low. So this reconnaissance survey helped us giving a lot of information. And then this material flow analysis was also helped us in arriving at the indicative plastic waste leakage. As I said, this is a very dynamic figure, and we can't have one figure, so it has to be a range. So through this we can at least give some indication how much will be the plastic waste leakage. And this is the fuzzy logic approach, where you can see the areas with red mark are very high plastic leakage potential areas that was developed. So the formalized plastic waste density map was calculated as population into plastic per capita consumption per area of that study area. And the drainage density was again the total length of all streams in the basin divided by area. So this is some formulas that were used, and the output was validated with ground truthing, and it actually, we saw the results were very correct. So the cleanup studies which I said, which gave us that what is the plastic by weight, which plastic debris is how much percent in that leakage point. So that also gives us that what is the source, why it is there. Like for example, in one site we had done this cleanup exercise for 2 different periods, 2 or 3 periods in fact. And then we saw that this particular site had a very significant litter density and compared to the other sites. Then we went back and we found that there was an open drain, and this site was located along the bank of a river. It was in a floodplain area, and we found that there was a drain, which is an open drain, and this drain was bringing all this domestic waste to the site. And this was very this quantity we found in repeated exercise. So the reason we found that there was an open drain which was passing through the slum area, through the market area, and people in absence of the waste collection system, were disposing their waste into the open drain. So first solution should be these open drains should be covered with a net, some metallic net or something, so that it avoids people disposing the waste directly into the drain. So that these kind of observation helps us in deriving such interventions. Also, we saw in most of the things that multi-layer packet, which is universally known that is the one which is not recyclable, so it is not being picked up by any rag picker, is always found in the litter point. And then there are polythene bags, again, that is although it is being banned, still it is being used rampantly. There were some synthetic bags which are for cement packaging used. So we found these bags, actually there was some sand mining happening there. So these bags, stone bags, were dropped, and there was a lot of religious waste, which are while performing some rituals, the waste is generated, like synthetic clothes, ritual material, god sculptures, etc. So all these helps us in understanding that waste type from that particular region or city or town. Then subsequently, we also did this microplastic survey, which was undertaken in the riverine body at different locations. And we found what is the number of particles that were present per meter cube, and what is the color of that particle. Color is also very important while we do this impact assessment, because these microplastics are then being ingested by the aquatic animals. So they have a direct impact. And then also the type or shape of that microplastic, whether it's bead, fragment, film, or fiber, because that also tells us the source of the microplastic. Like packaging material, the microplastic developed from the packaging material will be mostly in the form of fragment or in the form of film. But fibers are generated from the textile washing or textile thing. So this also indicates the source of microplastic. And then we characterize them into polymer types. So we found a lot of EVOH, ethylene vinyl alcohol, which is a very important polymer used mostly in the multi-layer packaging. And this polymer, along with there are some other polymers like polyamide, PVC, they help as they form as a moisture barrier and oxygen barrier into the packaging thing. So the whatever product is kept inside the packaging material are not being affected by the oxygen entering into the packet or the water moisture enter. So this EVOH we found in our first survey in a huge significant number compared to other polymers. Polyisoprene is, of course, from the road rust, the tire abrasion, it comes. Then PVC again comes from the packaging material, polyamide, PVL. So these analyses also helped us in deriving the sources of these microplastics, from where it is being generated. So accordingly, once we understand these sources, the reason, where it is leaking, what is leaking, we should be able to come up with the strategies, interventions, actions that are required, along with the instruments that can help us in reducing the mismanaged plastic waste and its leakage. So this is the international criteria that they have said. The interventions can be classified into three major categories. One is, while the product is being manufactured, we can have some interventions. For example, packaging material. So like the MLP has this disadvantage of not being recyclable because the different polymers and the metallic layer, they are co-extruded. So they cannot be mechanically separated. If these layers can be mechanically separated, then they can go for recycling, each polymer. But there is an invention where, with the same property that this present MLP does, they have developed a pouch where they can be placed with some adhesives. But this has not come to India so far. I'm talking about some invention that has happened in Germany or so. So people are thinking. So the packaging industry is thinking of such innovations. whereby they can make some packaging material where it can be made recyclable or reused. So that is one stage. So redesign and making the plastic recyclable is to be done at the stage of product manufacturing or usage. The second most important is the waste infrastructure and management. So if we have all the plastic waste being collected, so we have to maximize the collection of plastic waste. Nothing goes as a mismanaged plastic waste. Then I think we solve one major hurdle that we come into this plastic pollution. And then to increase the capacity efficiency of the treatment final disposal, we need to build the capacity of that infrastructure. And third one is, how do we incentivize plastic recycling? The scientific way of plastic recycling, because plastic recycling, if not done scientific way, can again have adverse environmental impact on the environment. So that has to be seen. The third most important category is is not the important, but the last category. So once the waste has leaked into the environment, we should have post leakage management. So in this assessment, I have said that we can have those areas identified where this leakage potential is high. So we need to undertake cleanup of these areas. We have to keep these drains, riverine system clean so that the leakage can be avoided. So this is about this. Then we have this implementation of interventions. So we need financial measures, specific regulatory measures, and we need information and data. And once we come up with the interventions, we need to have some kind of screening, because we can't have all the ideas that are being thrown out by different stakeholders to be implemented. So we have to have a stakeholder consultation where all the ideas, all the solutions that are being thought of by the scientific advisory committee or the people who are working on this project, and then we do the screening of that. So one important thing is that this can be done in this, as you can see the methodology. The first step is that we understand the source, reason for the mismanaged plastic waste. Second is we develop these interventions to reduce the mismanaged plastic waste. And third is we are visualizing these interventions in a priority in the top right corner of the graph. So if you see this graph, you see on the y-axis, we have this impact. Means if the intervention is implemented, what is its impact on the environment or the socio-economic effect. So we calculate that, and then the intervention can lead to how much of plastic leakage mitigation. So x-axis is this, y-axis is the plastic leakage mitigation potential. So we have ranked it high, medium, low. And again, the impact of this intervention on socio-economic and environment, we have divided into low, medium, and high. So after we do this, then we can, we'll have an exercise also with you. So all these ideas, along with this stakeholder consultation group, we can put these interventions in this graph based on their socio-economic environmental impact, based on their plastic leakage mitigation potential, and the one which is having high plastic leakage mitigation potential with very low acute environmental or socio-economic impact should be placed first, and then go slowly. So we can have a short-term implementation and medium and long-term implementation plans. So with this, I would like to conclude that while this kind of study we undertake can help us in identifying the various hotspots which triggers plastic leakage into the rivers, either through air, drain, or runoff, the massive amount of plastic that is observed to be littered can be also indicated, and we also able to understand why this littering is happening, what is the source, and what are the waste categories. And the microplastic survey finding can validate our macroplastic assessment field survey studies. So with this, I conclude this, and I would request Vaishnavi to share the Miro board exercise where we can actually do this screening of different intervention, and we'll also able to interact with you further about your understanding how we have come up with this training program also. So Vaishnavi, if you can give the link for Miro board exercise and
Yes.
also share that screen.
Yes, yeah, sure. What we'll do is we'll do this exercise and then come back for a round of Q&A. So if you'll have any questions, you can immediately post it on the chat box. We'll come back after this exercise. So currently I've posted the link. It's called Miro board. It's a whiteboard platform where we'll be doing our exercise. So you can just click onto that link. It may ask you for your name and email ID. So that's all is what you have to fill in. If you don't want to give your name, then you can also join anonymously. That's also fine. So just click the link and join the Miro board. I'll be sharing my screen as well. So we have a couple of participants already on the board. We'd request you all to just maybe wait until instructions are provided. And if anyone's facing any difficulty joining, please let us know about that as well. We can help you out.
Yeah, Vaishnavi, can you just zoom the screen, especially the interventions, so that I can first read that, and let us go step by step. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just a couple more minutes. We'll just wait for everyone to join. You can give them an overall idea of what the exercise is and what we're going to do, and then I'll zoom into the interventions part.
yeah. So the exercise is that we have placed just randomly some solutions to reduce the plastic leakage. Some solutions which are very general, may not be pertaining to a particular city also, but I wanted to have an idea here, like how we should be able to screen these ideas or the interventions to come up with the right intervention in the right order. So first, what we will do, we will try to screen those interventions which have low socioeconomic impact. So that means it is not expensive, and at the same time, it doesn't have major environmental impact. The implementation of that solution or that idea. Then the second step will be, once we have done so low, medium, high. So we, if we can do that categorization, then we will look into those interventions first with very low socio-economic impact. So on your x-axis, you have unintended consequences, which means low socio-economic and environmental impact. So let us go to those low socio-economic environmental impact and high plastic leakage mitigation potential. So I request you to select only those which, yeah, which have low socioeconomic and environmental impact and high plastic leakage mitigation potential out of all these ideas. So if you can place the intervention at the the right corner, yeah, right corner square. So those, not in the other squares. First bring all those interventions which are relevant to the right cornermost square in the graph. So only those, pick up only those which has low impact and high mitigation potential. So you're placing in other squares. I request you, if you can first fill the first square, so that we have an idea, we can further deliberate and discuss and understand from you also, because most of you are already in this field and will be able to better understand the impact of these interventions and how they can help in reducing the plastic pollution. So I request all of you, if you can first fill the right cornermost square and then go to the other squares. Vaishnavi, I can't see the interventions. If you can just zoom it little, or should I also join the Miro board?
That might be better, ma'am,
Okay.
because yeah.
So I can see in the rightmost corner of the square some interventions like avoiding restaurant, hotels, shops for avoiding usage of SUP, enforcement of ban on single-use plastics, fines, collection, and severe punishment. So you see this cornermost square is basically which has high mitigation pollution potential. So do you think all this that you have placed here will help us in reducing the plastic leakage drastically? For example, uh, someone has written, yeah, avoiding restaurant, hotels, shops for avoiding use of single-use plastic. Enforcement of EPR from large multinational corporations, companies, opening of garbage cafes in slum areas, distribution of steel utensils to various food courts at subsidized rates.
Also requesting the participants, if you all want to like respond or ask anything, you can unmute yourself and please go ahead and engage.
Is it clear to everyone what we are trying to do this exercise about? If anyone has any difficulty in understanding what this exercise is about, Please let me know. Is everyone able to do this? Open this Miro board, Vaishnavi?
Yes, I think we have around 8 participants on the board, and most of them have actually mapped, I think, based on what they've understood. Now, I think we can get into looking at section by section because
Okay, fine. But I think because everyone has a different opinion, and that is what this exercise is about. We need to understand everyone's opinion regarding screening of these interventions. So some people have for the same option they put in different squares. For example, the option like yeah, so the option like provision of utensils, steel utensils, they have some have put in as a low impact social impact, some has put it as a little medium, and some are saying it will have a very drastical significantly impact on the plastic leakage reduction, but some says it is less. Then there is another one like awarding restaurants, hotels, enforcement of ban on single use plastic. uh, eh, some says that it is low cost and high mitigation potential, whereas the others have different opinion, like some say it will not have any impact, it is put in the low mitigation potential also. So these are actually to be deliberated among us and understand why some are considering as a low mitigation potential, some are saying no, it is, if it is enforced properly. The enforcement is not just the policy has come and it is being notified and just said that yeah, now the all the single use plastics will be banned, and from the next day there will be no, it's not like that. Enforcement means then the local authorities, the pollution control board, all of them have to come together. They have to deploy people squad to monitor that this ban is being implemented properly in the region, in the city. Fines will be collected, cameras should be placed so that no one disposes also this waste, so single use plastic. So that will be enforcement, and depending on that the cost also will increase. So cost of implementation of that particular solution also depends on how you're viewing that idea. So this is all about deliberating among each other and understanding and getting the feedback about their effectiveness and their impact, and then we decide how to consider which are the ideas that should be taken up immediately, which has very minimal cost impact and environmental impact and relatively high leakage potential, and then go to the next one. So as I can see from this exercise, so people have considered the same option at different levels. So that needs to be understood from the participants, why they are considering them, some low, some high, or some medium. So with this, I think maybe we can take up the interactive session where uh, I get the feedback from the participants and understand, and also have the relevance of this exercise in this plastic leakage assessment system.